Hello and welcome to Heartland Cattle Call, your all-access pass to everything Limousin in the Heartland, whether you're in the sale ring, the show ring, or out in the pastures. We've got you covered. Each episode we bring you exclusive auction previews, market trends, and top-selling cattle straight from the sale ring. But that's not all. We'll also take you inside the biggest Heartland events, showcase top breeders and exhibitors, and break down the latest show results. From production sales to champion ribbons, we're talking with the people who make the industry thrive. Buyers, sellers, ranchers, and showmen who are shaping the future of Limousin cattle. So whether you're looking to invest in lead genetics, sharpen your showmanship skills, or just stay ahead in the business, you're in the right place. Get ready. It's time for Heartland Cattle Call. Hello to everyone in the Heartland Nation. I am Ashley Weiser, and I am here with the Heartland Cattle Call podcast. And I am on with Wieczorek Limousin, and I have Kurt Wieczorek here with us, and he's going to tell us a little bit about their sale. It's this coming Friday, February 28th at 5 p.m. at their ranch in Mount Vernon, South Dakota. And he's going to tell us why you guys won't want to miss this sale. But before I get started on that, I just want to give a shout out to Charlie Tesh of the Heartland Limousin Association. He's normally on this podcast with me. And so, Charlie, this one's for you. You're not here to pick up my slack, but you'll be missed, and I hope you're watching up there. And so, Kurt, can you tell us a little bit about how Wieczorek got your start in the Limousin industry? I know you have a long-standing heritage in the industry.
Well, first of all, thanks for giving me this opportunity, Ashley. It's great to be here and get a chance to visit with Limousin customers and whatnot. And hopefully there's one or two that might listen to this. I'm sure they will because of you, not me. But yeah, thanks again. Yeah, we've kind of been here for a minute or two. It got started quite a while ago, and I guess before I would even say that, I'd like to maybe just talk a little bit about the history of our operation here, if I could. We actually are on the same quarter of land that was homesteaded by my great granddad back in the late 1800s. 1882, I believe, was when he moved on the property. Worked it for 5 years until he proved it up, and then this quarter was given to him as part of the Homestead Act, and it has been continuously in our family since then. He would have had a very small number of cattle, but he did have cattle. He did have a number of other species of livestock as well. And he did have a few acres that he had broken with a one bottom plow and a team of horses. And from those humble beginnings back then, our operation has continued to grow, and through the 3 generations previous to me, all of them have been involved in the cattle industry as well. So when we start talking about being involved in the Limousin breed, that originated back in the early 70s. And my dad had gone to AI school while that was probably back in 1968, I believe. And he was a firm believer in the fact that if he was able to use AI, he could advance the quality of his herd way faster than by using the bulls that he could afford to buy at that time. So he was AI-ing, I believe the company that he was buying semen from was Curtis Breeding Company. And he was AI-ing all as many of the cows as he could catch in heat. And the one year, the Limousin seemed to be pretty. Year when we started calving and using Simmental, he was using Charlet, he was using Hereford, he was using Angus. He was not focused on any one breed. He just wanted to use good cattle. And these were supposedly some of the best cattle that were available in those breeds at the time. those Limousin calves were just outshining everything. And at that point, he just made the decision, you know what, we're just going to use Limousin and Limousin only. And it was just a few years later that we ended up joining the association. 1975, I believe, was the year that we officially became members and started hosting a bull sale. Probably, I want to say the first one was 1980. So this will be
And
our 45th.
I was about to say, this is your 45th bull sale. Am I correct?
Yep, it sure is.
And for those of you watching that don't know, Kurt is a former NALF president, and Wieczorek Limousin is a 2022, I believe, promoter of the year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that is accurate.
And you guys have really been doing it a long time. And I think kind of what you bring to the breed in looking through your catalog, you bring some differentiation that stood out to me personally. And I think part of that is probably from your experience on the EPD side. And you mentioned the AI side, and really focusing on those genetics. So you guys use the now genomic enhanced EPDs. And
Yes.
I think that you guys have started really utilizing a couple of the newer prefixes, the terminal profit index, and then the feed efficiency subindex. Can you tell us a little bit about how you utilize those in your program to benefit your herd and what you think that kind of brings to the table that kind of sets you apart in the Limousin industry and
Well,
what those mean?
you bet. From a feed efficiency standpoint, we've always believed that there were enough differences in cattle that we needed to figure out a way to identify which ones were the best ones, not necessarily the smallest eaters, but the best converters. And Limousin is known in general as being superior in that trait, but within the breed itself, there can be quite a variance as well. So identifying those bloodlines that are superior in terms of being able to convert that high roughage ration into pounds of gain is very important to us. And so we've been feed efficiency testing for about 4 or 5 years now, and really have seen some pretty neat things in terms of we've eliminated some animals that seem to be not as prolific in that area, and it's really tightened up what we're seeing within a contemporary group now. There isn't the big extremes. We're seeing a lot more consistency even in feed efficiency throughout the entire contemporary group. So that's been really exciting. And additionally, you're mentioning the new sub-indexes there, the terminal profit index or total profit index, I believe is the term. And if you are a commercial cattleman and you're wanting to simplify your decision-making process and you're not keeping any females, it's a terminal cross situation, you ADPD, it's going to rank those bulls as to which ones have their progeny will have the most profit potential. You can really just focus on that. It combines, I believe, 7 or 8 different traits into that index, and it just will really make your job at the sale that much easier by just really doing the sorting for you. You still need to look at them from a phenotypic standpoint. Are they the right size, for the cows that you're going to be putting them on? But once your phenotypic selection is made, and then you look at that, you can be done and be confident that you're getting the right bull for your needs.
Yeah, and I feel like that's especially helpful for someone that's just kind of looking to get their start, but want to get their start with some quality sires in their herd, for example.
You bet. Very much so.
Can we focus a little bit on the bulls that are in your catalog? You guys have a very strong selection of bulls. I believe you have 39 sires. Is that correct?
There I believe there's 40 that are
40.
cataloged in the sale here. Yeah. 40 individuals. Um, we've had the good fortune of being involved in a number of really high quality bulls over the years, and right now we're getting some really good progeny from a couple of bulls that I'll mention. For instance, the Game Changer bull that we raised, he's got some really top-notch individuals. He's a red sire himself. We do get a few blacks out of him as well on some of our heterozygous or homozygous black females, but really puts a long pattern to him, and a lot of depth and capacity. He's got great thickness, great carcass EPDs. And so we really like the progeny we get out of him. We've also got a bull that we got from the Linhart operation. History Buff is his name, and he's doing a wonderful job. We've got some outstanding individuals up there in the early part of the catalog that are sired by History Buff. Just love them. And on the plus on him, not only does he make some really good bulls, the females are just awesome, just as gentle as can be, and boy, they're the right type. Milk nice. We're really excited about them. We've also got another bull that we got out of the Coleman operation, goes by the name of Jackpot, and he's got some just outstanding sons as well. If you happen to get here sale day and get a chance to look at them, you'll be impressed. They are really outstanding individuals.
Well, I was impressed
Those are
looking.
just a few of the sires.
I was impressed looking through the catalog myself, and I was looking at those EPDs and those numbers, and I did see a lot of those repeat names. I saw a lot of Cell History Buff in there. Some of those EPDs though really stood out to me. You have a lot of the 1% and the 2% in there for a lot of traits. And that number one bull, can we talk a little bit about Mike Drop?
Sure. He is pretty impressive.
On marbling, and he's got the look.
He is really deep and capacious. He's just impressive to walk around the pen. He really is, and complete in his numbers. Maybe not as high on his weaning and yearling weight numbers as some of the other bulls in the offering, but boy, is he going to raise some good calves. You can see his gain numbers there, and that's post-weaning average daily gain. That wasn't just during the test period, but from the time we weaned him until we took the yearling weight, he gained over 5 pounds a day. And we don't feed much grain. Just as a rule of thumb, we never, even when it's cold, get above 1% of their body weight in the form of energy. So these guys, he weighs 1,500 pounds practically. And he's getting a little less than 10 pounds of grain a day is all. And that's the way we just raise them with a high roughage ration, and they're on a 46 megacal ration, and yet we get that kind of gain. And that's a testament to our feed company. We've just got one of the most knowledgeable guys on ruminant nutrition does our rations for us and consults our operation here. And he's just done such a wonderful job for us that putting a blend of amino acids together in this ration to get them to be able to utilize that high roughage ration in such an efficient way.
And I think that's very important, because you're not just raising bulls that have been pampered up in the barn. You're raising bulls that are ready to go out there and get the job done and go to work. And that's what you're selling and what you kind of stand behind in your history in the operation.
Yeah. And we don't have to step them down after we take the yearling weight, because they've never really been getting a lot of energy. It's just by growing them that way, we can just let them keep growing, and they're fine. You know, we're not burning them out or anything. They're sound on their feet and legs. They move good. They just have a lot of natural thickness to them. And, you know, one of the ways that you can measure thickness is obviously by, you know, how big is the ribeye size, and the actual average ribeye size of these 40 sale bulls is almost 17 square inches. And I don't know where you would go to find a entire offering of bulls that's got that big of an average. I mean, there's just a lot of muscle in these bulls, and it's the high dollar muscle, you know. You
Well, I mean, I do know where you would go. You would go to Mount Vernon, South Dakota to Wieczork's limousine sale on
well,
228, right?
that might work. Indeed.
No, I do think that that is very, very impressive. And I think that, you know, anyone that's out there and not in necessarily in the industry, they understand a ribeye, right? So that kind of stands out. So one of the things also I wanted to kind of mention that stood out, you guys, I know you stand behind your bulls for one whole breeding season. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that means to your ranch and kind of who you are?
Sure. You know, we had talked about a little bit about our history. I guess, you know, how did we end up doing some of the things that we do? And I do want to mention on that. I do want to touch on that rather. You know, as we were getting started 45 years ago, Dad wanted to do some things like, okay, we had an early sale, for instance. We're in February, and back then there wasn't many February sales.
Oh,
There was
really?
next to no February sales. I think there was two other limousine sales besides ours. Well, there was the Iowa Beef Expo in the middle of the month, and then between then and the last Friday in February, there was a sale by Wagner and a sale by Geddes. And those two sales have gone by the wayside here a number of years ago. So, but there just wasn't many early sales, and Dad did not want to have a sale in the spring when he felt he could be out planting corn or in the field or doing something else. He said
He had things to be doing.
he got very frustrated private treating bulls. Guys would call and say, "Hey, we're gonna come and look this afternoon. Will you be around?" And so he'd hang around, and then they'd no show. And after busting off of this, sell them. It's going to be over. And together the plan for having our first production sale. What he used as a guideline to determine what he should do is he just thought about what would I like, how would I, when I buy a bull, how would I like to be treated? And that's the way that we want to do it. And so, you know, that first year, and it wasn't the first sale that we had. It was about the third or fourth. Dad told the sale manager, he says, you know, I want to stand behind these. I want to guarantee them for the first breeding. So you can't do that. Why? That's not sustainable. You'll never make any money doing that. Why would you give the buyer that much power? You know, this guy was just absolutely arguing against us even thinking of doing this. And I guess maybe to his credit, and you know, nobody was doing it, and maybe we started causing people to have to do some things they didn't want to do. But that Dad just said, you know, I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter. That's what we're going to do. So you know, we've stood behind the product. We've tried to make it as easy as we can for people to buy. We had that early sale. Dad says, we're just going to, you know, if we had a late sale, we'd be feeding them that long anyway. So you just come and buy them now and we'll take care of them and we'll deliver them to you later. Just, you know, come make the decision now and buy now. And we'll just work with you. We'll make it work. We'll make it be a good deal. And so that's why maybe he got started doing a lot of those things back then. And it is kind of nice to get that sale out while we still have poor man's concrete most years. I'm not sure there's going to be any this year. The way this week has warmed up. 2 weeks ago, there sure was plenty, but my goodness, the weather's been nice this week. But typically, you know, once we get to the middle of March, the frost comes out of the ground. There's mud everywhere. Keeping the cattle clean is next to impossible. So that also led into why we have an early sale. But
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into my next question. So you must have read my mind, but You guys offer free wintering until April 1st.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think,
And then we'll do our dead level best to get them to you in a timely fashion. If you live within probably the surrounding states, probably within 500 miles, it'll probably be up your driveway. If you're beyond that, we're sure going to still work with you. We're going to try to get someplace that's a central point. You might have to come part way and meet us somewhere, but we're sure not going to leave you hanging or expect that there's going to be some expensive trucking involved in the deal. We may use a trucker if there's not a lot of bulls going one direction and it's just a single or a double thing, but we're going to stand behind that and we're going to pick most of that up if not all.
yeah, and in looking through that, I was very impressed by that, as well as, just kind of, I hate to go back to it and harp on it, but it does stand out. One of the features of your cell catalog was those EPDs. And in looking through, for anyone that hasn't looked at you guys' cell catalog, you need to go out and look at it. You need to go out and look at the EPDs, and you need to go out and look that they focus on those and they go by the NALF standards, and they stand behind those. And there's a lot of bulls in there that they don't just have the numbers, but they have the look. Are there any standouts to you? I know you have a whole catalog of good looking bulls, but is there any you want to kind of go into depth on? Not to
I
put you on the
actually
spot.
I actually had my sale manager here the other day and we were going through them and we got done and he looked at me and he goes, you could almost flip a coin and put just about any bull in there in that 40 in the front pen and he would fit. He said, this is just insane. I don't know how you do it. Um, I'm fortunate to have gotten lucky in some capacity, I guess. But one of the things I will say when we're putting mating decisions together is I'll evaluate each cow's entire set of EPDs and I'll try to identify where her 2 or 3 weakest points are. And then once I have determined what it is that she needs fixed, then I will use one of about a dozen bulls, the one that will address those deficiencies, but still keep everything else in line. So if you look through a lot of those bulls have really balanced numbers all the way across the board. And that's the only way you can get there is if you really have, a group of bulls that you can rely on to address wherever there is that need. And that's the way we've done it for about 8-10 years. And I really feel like the last 4 or 5 years, we've really seen the fruit of that in a really consistent set of bulls that are just really easy to look at.
They're definitely easy on the eyes, and just going back to kind of what you said about getting lucky, the saying goes, the harder you work, the luckier you get, right?
I believe
And
that's true. I'll
that
go with it.
that's what my papa always told me anyway. Um, but I think that's kind of a testament to the way you run your cattle operation, the way you run your ranch is you really don't have any standouts because they're all standouts. Does that make sense? So you don't want anything to
Right.
stand out. You want to be offering that same level of quality across the board, which I think is a testament to how you run your operation. And it clearly shows through in this catalog. I was looking through it and I was impressed and I was trying to pick a standout and I couldn't pick a standout because there were so many good numbers there. And I think you've kind of got something for everyone based on what they're looking for in their niche, in their operation, and to meet their particular needs too, right? They can kind
Right.
of go one direction or another.
Absolutely. I mean, if you've got a set of British-based cows that don't have enough ribeye, maybe they've got enough marbling, but not enough ribeye. I mentioned what the average was. There's a fourth of the offering has got over 17.5 inch square ribeye, square inch ribeye. So there are a number of options that will address that for that need. If you've got second or third generation exotic, if you will, or continental, and you don't need to add ribeye, but you want to maintain, all of those growth numbers, but you need to add some marbling. I mean, we've got some purebreds in there and some high percentage NXMs that really will excel in marbling and might be a better choice for you than that big ribeye bull. So, regardless of what you're trying to address within your cow herd, we'll have some individuals that'll work. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, and you did, I noticed, have a lot of purebreds too. That's getting a little bit harder to find, I think, these days. You don't see the numbers quite like you used to in some of these bull sales. So those are
Right.
in there. Those are in there too. You've got a little bit of everything. And correct me if I'm wrong, and feel free to jump in here. Your sale is February 28th. And the sale is at 5, but the dinner is at 4, and you'll be viewing bulls that day prior to that, right?
You bet. We should have them. We're going to let them wake up on their own schedule this year instead of making them get out of bed early. When we had a noon or a 1 o'clock sale start time last year, and previous, we would always get them up pretty early. But we're just going to let them kind of have the morning to lounge around and get done eating, get a drink, and then we'll get them sorted up and in the display pens probably by noon, and they'll be available all afternoon. And if you want to come kick through them in the pen before we sort them, come in the morning, that's fine. But yeah, we'll have them on display by noon in their sale pens, and we'll answer any questions that anybody has if they have any, and we'll enjoy I guess I wouldn't call it lunch anymore. We'll grab a bite together before the sale kicks off, and
down
then
here where I'm from, we call it supper, but I think you guys may call it something different.
I call it supper. I mean,
Oh, you do?
Dinner was at noon and lunch was at 10:30 and at 4.
Yes. Thank
We ate,
you.
when I was growing up, we ate 5 times a day, and as hard as we worked, we had to.
So they can enjoy some beef for supper. They can come out and view the bulls ahead of time. And what about sell day phones? Those are
I
available.
I think in our catalog we've got Kylie McKenna and Wiley Fanta's phone numbers listed there.
Yep, MC
And
Marketing Management.
yep, and then also my phone would be listed in there as well. If you want that, it's 605-999-1298. And
And DV
if you got it,
Auctions.
DVAuction will be broadcasting and taking bids through the event. So if you can't make it and want to just log into DVAuction, we'd love to have you join us.
Well, I appreciate you getting on with us and sharing a little bit of your story, and I cannot wait to hear how your sale does. And everyone, Friday, 2/28 at 5 p.m. Wieczorek Limousin, and you won't want to miss it.
Thanks, Ashley. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.